thank you all so much for joining us today for our Glass Menagerie conversation with. So I want to start with Grace. You're playing Amanda Wingfield, the iconic Amanda Wingfield. Such an incredible role that's played by so many actresses over the years. I was interested in how do you approach such an iconic role and make it your own? What you're in, what are you thinking about, where you're at in the process?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's iconic, and the last play that I did, both of the actresses, the other actresses in the cast and the director had all played Amanda, and they had, people have lots of advice.
I'm sure they do.
And in this case, I take it because I think I find her very funny. I find that she's, some of the humor is intentional, a lot of it is unintentional, so that's a way in. I think you have to come at a role from the point of view of the character, to represent their point of view. So I'm thinking about that. I find her easy to be sympathetic to and with. I can see where she's coming from. She's got a sort of a desperate situation, and she's trying to make the best of it. I think she loves her children and is trying to do the best for them. So I'm thinking about that. And I think in our particular production, we've talked a lot about how the stakes are especially high, given the backstory that we've all created together. So for me, that sort of heightens, some particular scenes of really the whole thing. So
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dylan, we know that Tom, who you're playing, is the most autobiographical of Tennessee Williams' characters in his plays. I'm wondering, I would imagine that can feel in some ways a huge responsibility, and similar to my question of Grace, like what's your personal in, how do you make it your own, particularly identifying as a queer man like myself, and Tennessee Williams being very much out in a time when that was not particularly safe. How are you kind of approaching and jumping in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that taking from the kind of archive of personal experiences is something that I'm really excited about in generating this role, because something that we've talked about before is that so often this character can come across as like brooding and deeply in their emotions for the entirety of this show, because it's a memory play. I think that there's this uniquely queer relationship to trauma where it's something that is navigated not more casually, but potentially more frequently, potentially it becomes essential to identity. So thinking about how he moves through the play and how memory, the weight of memory shifts in that regard is, I think, very crucial to me. Finding moments of joy in this family is really, really crucial, joy and celebration. Moments when you try to share your truth with other members of your family, which maybe I haven't necessarily seen in some other productions, right? It's all walls up, and I think that there is a deep, deep desire for the walls to come down. And mining those moments, I think, creates a more authentically queer, or reflects a more authentically queer experience.
Thank you. So Brittany, who is playing Laura, the sister to Tom and daughter to Amanda, I mean, similarly, in some ways we know a lot about Tennessee's real life sister Rose, and in some regards we know very little. We know that she did suffer from mental illness and was in turn institutionalized for it. So for you, approaching this role with knowing some of that history, what are you leaning on with that? What are you taking for yourself in the role? What are you working to kind of push against that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to bring a lot of my life experiences to Laura and how we're playing it during this time period with this cast, but knowing her history and it being a memory play helps me ground myself in realism for her to know that she had this full life. And although we don't talk about it in the show exactly, or she doesn't say much, it tasks me with even more, I don't know, oomph to live in each moment, because she's not speaking, but she's listening to
Yeah.
everything. And Tennessee's sister knew everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was something that really affected her. So it's like, how am I actively listening when I'm in the scene? And how is that physicalizing in my body? That's what
Excellent.
I'm trying to work on.
Excellent. And last but not least, Noah, who's playing the infamous gentleman caller, a character who shows up in the final scene. I mean, he's set up in the beginning of the play. We know that his arrival is impending, but I mean, so much weight is put on that character and the storytelling. And you know, we don't want to spoil alert, but things maybe don't go as planned. As an actor, what is that like to like literally come in the last scene, but have so much weight and importance in the storytelling? Have you been thinking about that?
Yeah. I mean, dramaturgically for the play, I know how important it is to the storytelling.
Right.
But as an actor, it's kind of liberating to be a person who shows up for dinner and has no expectations. Because I don't have to worry about anything. I just show up and things happen to me.
Yep.
And I think procedurally what's so fun about playing Jim is that his life isn't exactly going the way that he wanted it to, and he finds things about each of these three people that he loves and reminds him of things that he loves about himself and about his life. And so it's, I think it's actually quite fun in that way, because I just get to go on the journey with each of these three people in that last scene.
Cool. So my final question is for the group. I'm interested in to hear, and we've been talking about this quite a bit in rehearsal, but the identity conscious casting that which brings us all together, has affected this play, I think, in some really beautiful ways. I mean, some of you have already touched about it, particularly in regards to how it raises the stakes by the identity of the four of you. More thoughts on that and how this particular group of four, I mean, we know historically, right, this play is autobiographical, so it was written for a cast of white folks because that's Tennessee's identity. We're certainly not doing anything different, right? There's been all black casts, all Asian casts, and multi-racial casts like ours. But for this particular group of people, where are your kind of hearts and minds landing with how it's informing our storytelling and how we're jumping into this play?
So often the white playwright is seen as infallible, and I think it's really a blessing to come into a space in which we are not trying to perpetuate some myth of objectivity. We are challenging the text, and we are inviting that challenge into this space very openly in a way that we're all saying. It's upping the stakes in different ways. It changes the context and the content of a lot of what we're saying. I think for actors of color, for dramaturgs of color, I think that it's a liberating experience to not worry about being the caretaker to the text, but instead allowing yourself to really be an actor of thought upon it.
Yeah. And for me, one of the reasons I became an actor is like, I want to show humanity, I want to show humans. And it's just like, this is someone's reality. So I'm showing someone's reality. Someone in the audience is going to be able to relate to this particular casting, this particular story. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was like, we have to tell it this way, but we have to acknowledge everything that comes with it, which is what we've been doing.
Excellent.
I've been thinking about a play and any great play as being kind of in the way that a play is a template, and then you have an individual production in which you flesh it out. In this case, we're fleshing it out in this wonderful way, and there's so many cool things that have happened as a result of that, and have revealed things about the play that I had never seen before. So that amplifying and revealing is it's just been an exciting process. Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for being here with me today on A Conversation With, and let's get to rehearsal.
Okay.